Hello, and welcome to another episode of Boise State in the Community. I'm your host, Jasper Adam. Today we have marketing professor Leslie Koppenhafer, director of community relations for Bogus Basin, Susan Sad, and marketing director John Hart. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Our pleasure.
Leslie, my first question is for you. Could you tell us a little bit about your service learning program and your marketing 301 and 407 classes?
Yes, so I've started doing service learning since I arrived here in 2014. And the reason is because it allows students to really work on meaningful projects and bring marketing to life. So you can learn through a book, but it's more likely to stick with you when you're actually applying what you're learning. And so I found that there's benefits to students as well as benefits to our community partners by using that in both my classes. And so I use it a little bit differently. In 301, it's kind of starting to get your hands dirty and answering a question such as how can we get more students to come to Bogus Basin Mountain in regard to my service projects last spring. And then in my 407 class, which is an integrated marketing communications class, it's how can we design a marketing plan to be used by our community partner throughout to solve their problem.
Awesome. And could you tell us a little bit about how the community benefits to this partnership?
Sure. So you've got people who live in the community as students, and they're bringing their knowledge and their brain powers and their creativity to solve a problem. And so one way that this works for the reason I started doing this type of work is because I think it's really important for students to understand that they have a responsibility to give back to the communities that they live in. There's a number of ways you can do that. One way is that business degrees are really valuable, and you can offer your skill set to nonprofits in the community and offer them business advice. And so that's one way that a nonprofit or one of the members of the community can benefit. I think also when you encourage students to become ingrained in the community, that they're more likely to stay here. And so you've got an educated group of people who really are invested in making Boise the best it can be.
Awesome. And how do you feel the students benefit from the partnership?
Well, one way is that they're not just learning from a book. They're seeing what it means to be working on a real world problem with the constraints that arise with things like budgets. And so it gives them a much better understanding of what companies actually face. It allows them to get their hands dirty, to come up with solutions, to work down maybe one way, find that it doesn't work, and then have to turn around. And that's something that we all face in business. And so then it also gives them an opportunity to talk about this project when they're interviewing. It's almost akin to an internship because you can say, well, actually, when I worked for the project on Bogus Basin and they implemented my idea, that's a pretty awesome thing to be able to share it with an employer.
Awesome. I'm going to switch it over to John and Susan now. Could you each tell me or tell the viewers how you started out at Bogus Basin?
Go ahead, Susan.
Sure. Well, I have been working in nonprofits in the community here in Boise for about 20 years, focused largely on education projects, and have loved to ski at Bogus Basin that whole time. I have kids that grew up on the mountain. My husband grew up on Bogus Basin Road, and so we had a great love for the mountain, and so I had been volunteering as a member of the board of directors and was invited to join the team at Bogus Basin 3 years ago in this capacity, and so it's been a great way to give back to an organization that I really get so much from.
Yeah, I've been on board at Bogus Basin for just over a year now, and our family moved over to Bogus. We had been over in eastern Idaho for many years, and we moved over to Boise, and the opportunity came to get involved with Bogus Basin, and it's been so exciting to get involved with the largest nonprofit ski area in the country, and to see this incredible economic asset and resource that the Treasure Valley has. And for me, from a marketing perspective, to get involved with that and to figure out how we can take this incredible brand and really bring it to life, to restructure our social communities, to breathe life into summer, and to really make the future sustainable is full of really fun, creative problems to solve. And that's what drives me. I love to be able to come in and solve fun, complex marketing problems. And we have a ton of work to do at Bogus Basin that's going to really empower Bogus Basin to thrive in the future.
That's awesome. And how did you guys begin this partnership, and why did you decide to utilize Boise State's service learning program?
Well, the original connection came through a member of our board of directors, who's also a historian for Bogus Basin, Eve Chandler. And Eve knew Dr. Koppenhafer and actually introduced us probably about a year and a half ago. And we were very excited to hear about the opportunity to work with her, to work with her students. For us, we know that engaging students in a service learning project that is meaningful and real to them is helpful to them, great for the school, and great for us at Bogus Basin as we try to identify how we might be able to grow the number of students that were coming up to the mountains. So we knew right off the bat that it was a great opportunity, and turned out to be.
Awesome. And can you kind of explain maybe the average day or kind of what goes on between Bogus Basin and the student?
Sure. So what happened was about the second, third week of school, depending on which class, John and Susan came in and presented the background on Bogus Basin and then said, here's the question we want you to answer. And here are some constraints in terms of budget. Here's who we think we want you to talk to in regards to the college market. And then we took it from there. And we did the research, or not we, our students did the research and really structured over the course of the semester, coming up with a solid target market, how Bogus Basin should be positioned to the college market, and how it should be communicated to them. And so at the end of the semester, John and Susan came back in with some other members of the board and listened to the student presentations as they walked through how they arrived at their idea, what their idea was, and really doing the sales pitch of why we think you should implement this and why we think it would be meaningful and result in more students buying season passes and skiing at Bogus.
That's all. And you feel like a lot of the students have benefited from this program, and you're going to continue to do it, I imagine? Absolutely.
And so that's, it enables students to really understand, is this the career for me? And maybe you're a finance major and you've worked on this project and you think, wow, this is a really cool opportunity. Maybe I do want to do marketing. And so I love getting to talk about the hard brand issues, not just in the classroom setting, but what does that mean in terms of real world implementation? And I often have students after a semester ends, if I see them in the hall, they'll come up and say, oh, who's your service learning partner this semester? What are you working on? And so I've had students say that they particularly take my classes because they want the opportunity to work with real businesses. And Bogus Basin is just such a treasured member of the community. And so being able to work with them and have a community partner that's really focused on the students was just a fantastic experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, wow. And I'm a little curious, could you tell me how your title of marketing director and your title of community relations kind of differs when you're trying to show the students what to do or guide them?
Yeah, really when it came down to showing them, I had the opportunity to come in and kind of pitch Bogus Basin to these classes. And it was really fun to come in and kind of paint a picture of what Bogus Basin is and what our brand means and what we were looking for. One of the things that we really wanted to achieve is a way to connect to the student body, not only at Boise State University, but across the valley. Simply because college students are the future of Bogus Basin. It's such an important demographic for us to understand and to reach out and communicate with. One of the things that we learned from the students when they were presenting is that there is a high percentage of college graduates from Boise State University that stay and work in Treasure Valley, and they start their families here, and they live here for a long time. And so for us to reach out and engage these students while they're on campus, it's going to allow us to have the next generation of supporters of this wonderful treasure. And they're going to raise their kids, they're going to bring them up for ski lessons and snowboard lessons, and they're going to be involved in the future board and everything that's going to happen as we try to grow Bogus Base in the future. So it just was a perfect fit for us to come in and to work with these students who can reach out and communicate directly with this demographic that we wanted to understand better, and to give us some really fun and creative ideas of how to reach out and get more students up the hill.
Awesome. And I keep hearing about these end of the year presentations, and I was wondering if you could maybe share some snippets of what those were like and what goes into that.
Sure. So in my 407 class, it's a 12-minute presentation. This is what our idea is. Get an excitement. Here's the rationale for it, and then an actual communications plan of how we think we should implement this. And even though what I find personally cool about marketing is that even though every single one of them received the same instruction and the same information, there were 9 different ideas in my 407 class and 10 different ideas in my 301 class. So there's so many different ways to do it right, and that's what makes it really exciting. And I think you guys got some wonderful ideas, and I hope you'll talk about the one that you implemented as well.
And so what unique benefits, besides the ones you've talked about, do you feel like Boise State as a university brings to the partnership?
Well, just speaking on behalf of my role as community relations, my job is really to engage and mobilize partners in the community around this fabulous nonprofit resource. A big and very fun project we're working on right now is our 75th anniversary, which will be throughout the year 2017. And so Bogus Basin was created in 1942 by the community for the community. It was all volunteers that built the road, chopped down the trees, 2,600 acres, and so it is a treasured community resource that belongs to all of us. And so to be able to tap into the 20,000 number student body at Boise State and help them understand how wonderful an asset we have right in our own backyard is awesome, because we know a lot of them will end up staying here in the community, and we want them to feel like they are part of Bogus Basin as well. So it's a great way to start that relationship.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing. Unless you would like to say something.
Well, there is one more thing. So I think we'd be remiss to not end with telling you about the pass that's available. And so this idea came out of my Marketing 407 class, and the team that really generated this was Joe Egbert, Sean Cutting, Adam Ramsey, and Jordan Homan. But I will leave you guys to talk about it.
Yeah, it's fun. As we were sitting through, we had so much fun listening to all these different ideas that came out. And one of them that really stood out was the idea of having a season pass sale directed towards the college students in the Valley. And it's something that we've never really done. We've just kind of bracketed the college students into our adult season pass sale that we do every year. And one of the ideas that came out was marketing this season pass sale in a social way, so that if students are able to gather up a group of friends and come in and buy their season passes together, that they'd be eligible for the very best deal on their season pass. And the objectives that were twofold, because two of the things that we found that we really needed to solve was the price of skiing at Bogus Basin for students is critical. College students are on tight budgets, so they needed a price that was agreeable to them. But transportation is another key issue that we've got to be able to solve, how to get the students, even though it's only 20 miles away, that can be, 120 miles if you don't have access to transportation. So the idea about these social groups was really fun, because if the students can mobilize into groups of 5 and get themselves up to our sales office and get a really good pass price together, they're already segmenting themselves into these social communities, these social networks that are going to allow them to find rides and to access rides, for getting up the mountain to ski and snowboard. And so we loved the idea so much that we implemented it, and we are right now in the middle of our season pass sale for all college students across the Valley. We're really targeting it on campus at Boise State University, and it's really fun to have that.
Awesome. Wow, that's kind of funny. College students kind of figuring ways to make it more, applicable to them, I guess. And
Yeah.
I have a question about their projects. Are all of these projects like marketing advertisement based, or for Bogus Basin, or were any of them like structural based, like things to change about the mountain?
Organizational.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them, these were marketing students, and we had posed kind of marketing questions. And so a lot of the responses that we had hoped for and that we got were different marketing ideas. We had, a variety of different marketing plans that came in with ideas of how to spend the marketing budget that we had set aside to market a season pass sale. We had a lot of social ideas that came out of it, of how we can better utilize social media, using geofences and all kinds of the new technology that's out there in the social media realms. And so we received just a tremendous, wonderful, like Leslie said, just a variety of one question that led to numerous answers that were all fun and creative and quite thoughtful.
That's great. And how you said social media. I was wondering in what ways have those students explored social media, and what have they done to make Bogus Basin more not only popular but accessible on social media?
Yeah, there's a number of things. One of the things that's really been happening is watching the students use social media to reach out and to find these groups. In order to get the very best price, the best pass price is $149 for a season pass, which in the ski industry is the cheapest pass you can probably find anywhere for a ski resort of this size. And to watch these students, through the comments of, hey, I've got we've got 3 friends, we only need 2 more, in order to get our group together. Anybody else out there, that's looking for a group to join in, and really just reaching out and sharing the information and trying to find those groups so that they can come in and get this really good price on the season pass. That's been, and the result has been great. That as well as our other social networks have just exploded. We got our very first snow of the season just this last week, and our social channel just lit up. We had over 600,000 people looking at our social media channels to see images and videos of our first snowstorm up there. So people are really engaged in the social community surrounded around Bogus Basin.
And I would add to that it's really important. We're not college students, so understanding how do college students use those social media networks? What are they looking for in terms of engagement? What tone of voice? What words? What matters? So who better than to find and research that than to actually have college students doing that for you?
I would also add, if I could, one other strategy that we deployed was another idea that Joe's team brought, which is the notion of student ambassadors. So we actually have 6 brand ambassadors on campus who are spending time on campus, making presentations, and having those personal dialogues to encourage people, make them aware of the sale and things like that. And they've done a phenomenal job. We were, I think, so impressed with all of the teams that did the presentation. It was really spoke well for students at Boise State University. So we really appreciated it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing about this partnership. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have tonight, but thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on Boise State in the Community.